Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The opinions of hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect the opinion of this network.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. This is Ghost Talk with 187 PI. Sit back and prepare yourselves for an adventure into the paranormal world with host Shelly Robertson and 187 PI research team. Ghost Talk is broadcasting live from Ohio's most haunted jail. Learn about their ongoing research at the jail and abroad, investigation techniques, and their personal encounters. Here is your host of Ghost Talk and 187 PI founder, Shelly Robertson.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Ghost Talk Radio with me as your host, Shelly Robertson. Tonight, I have a very interesting show planned for you, as always, right? I'll be discussing the most demonic and cursed places on Earth, okay? I would first like to invite all my listening friends out there tonight to join me in chat at WBHM-DB.com, where you can join in on the conversation, ask me any questions you may have, or share a haunting story of your own, okay? Now, folks, I do have to admit something before I start this show. I have never had a demonic experience. And quite frankly, I'm happy to be able to say that, right? So my show will be on lots of research because I am not speaking from experience. I'm proud of that fact, right? Because you hear about so many just horrible things, right? When we're talking about demons and demonic stuff. Well, I'm telling you, reading the reports and doing the research, there are just literally hundreds upon hundreds of places and locations that have reported to have demonic activity. And I'm not just talking about in the United States. This is worldwide, culture-wide, right? And I just don't know which would be worse, to have or go to a place. I'm not even going to say worse, okay? I'm just going to say interesting. Go to a place that is demonic or cursed. You know, should I encounter a demon? Or should I walk away with some kind of curse upon me for being there, right? I don't even know. I think either one, you would find yourself maybe in not such a very good situation, right? So let's start off. I'm sure that you might have some questions. Some of you know, some of you don't know. How do you know a location has demonic activity? What makes a place demonic? How does a place become cursed, right? So and you know how I like backdrop stories and stuff when I start my shows. Let's talk about some information on demons and how we end up with demonic activity at a location. Okay, and this is coming from research, all right? Because like I said, I have no experience whatsoever with this. First of all, sometimes we interchangeably use the word devil and demon, okay? But the two are very different. And let's take a look at the differences between devil and demon, right? Sometimes you might talk to somebody and they interchange and call one and the same, but there is remarkably some differences. Now, according to Christian and Jewish and Islamic beliefs, the devil is the main opponent to humankind and to the God, right? The deity. Now, the devil is the supreme spirit of evil. Now, in this sense, the devil it's referring to like Satan or Lucifer, the leader of the fallen angels, okay? And this is within the religious beliefs. Now, the term devil can also refer to a higher ranking or a stronger being than demons, right? Obviously, of course. And it's like the leader of the demons. They are considered to be more fiendish and more evil than demons, a devil, right? Now, a demon, on the other hand, is a supernatural being, and it can refer to any type of evil supernatural monster, okay? Like a chupacabra, or, for an example, Now, typically, a demon is associated with evil, and historically, is prevalent in religion, occultism. It's written a lot about in literature, fiction, mythology, and folklore, and it's found prevalent also in the media, such as comics and video games and movies and television series. There's just like a big, huge interest in demons. Now, a demon is especially thought of as an evil spirit, okay? And especially it's thought as an entity that possesses a person or acts as a tormentor in hell, okay? And demons are usually considered to have a lower ranking than devils, like I just mentioned a few minutes ago. And you could refer them to as, let's call them the devil's minions, okay? Carrying out all the chaos. Now, demons are mostly known for their ability to possess individuals. However, I got to tell you this: there's a stage of occurrences that must happen, right, before a demonic possession happens. There's many stages to be involved, okay? And one stage is demonic oppression. That's one of the stages. And here are some causes for demonic oppression that I'm going to talk about now. Of course, if you are dealing with the occult or you're practicing black magic, that is a cause for demonic oppression. Another cause has been reported by using a Ouija board. And I got to tell you, I know there's a lot of stuff, and I know some reputable people who's had things happen regarding a Ouija board. I have never experienced anything with using a Ouija board. Absolutely nothing. As a matter of fact, my planchette has never moved trying to use a Ouija board. So I don't know. Something doesn't want to talk to me. So maybe my dad prays for me. So maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. I got some kind of protection going on around me that way. I don't know. But, the Ouija board and other occult instruments, okay, they can invite negative entities into our world. That's what they say and what some people believe. Or at the very least, it can open doorways that most would rather leave closed, okay? And this is the reason many people warn against using them at all. Now, another way, and this is the most obvious way, to get some demonic oppression going on is summoning a demon. Yes, the people attempt this sometimes. Actually, I find that just bizarre. But because why would you want to summon something so evil and mean and could most likely harm you, right? But yes, people are doing this. And another demonic oppression can be negative energy, overwhelming stress, anger, sleep deprivation, and other negative human emotions may catch the attention of a demon and perhaps allow it an easy route into your life, right? All right. Now, with this statements, I have to offer a side note. And without getting off track of anything that I'm talking about tonight, I just got to let you know, there is this experiment that folks in the paranormal are doing called sensory deprivation. Okay. And that's where you have a blindfold on and you sit in complete darkness. And some people are even using earplugs, headphones. And this is to make you, just very vulnerable to see what kind of extraordinary activity that you can experience. Well, this, folks, is another form of demonic oppression, which of course could lead to very bad things, right? Because this is making you vulnerable, right? But now let's explore some of the alleged signs of a demonic infestation, things that you should perhaps watch out for, things that you could look for. Of course, strange noises. We always have strange noises. And it's said that the sound of a demon is to be like of a guttural or a harsh growling, unlike anything that an ordinary animal would produce, okay? This might occur in specific spots or closets or hallways. You might even hear gruff words or disembodied voices asking you questions or threatening you in some kind of way, right? That is cause for you to perk up and pay attention. You might have pets that are scared, or you might go to a location where animals are afraid to go, right? And for unseen reasons. You might not be able to see anything, but pets and animals are pretty sensitive to the paranormal. There may be mysterious black masses and shadows lurking about. And not all of them are demonic, but it could be a sign, right? Then there's these demonic nightmares that many people have reported having. They have these strange and terrible dreams that accompany the unexplained activity in their homes during a haunting. There might even be damage to religious symbols. Demons don't take kindly to holy symbols. There may be a attempt to get rid of crucifixes, Bibles, rosaries, or other religious artifacts. They may damage anything they view as a threat against their presence. Some say a location can even smell of demons. Yes, smell, folks. And one of the most common signs of a demon infestation is a terrible putrid smell, kind of a scent of decomposing meat or rotting eggs, or maybe like a really strong sulfur smell. And some say it's a scent of death, right? Parasitic or negative entities are said to sometimes attach themselves to people, draining them of their energy. And this causes all sorts of unexplained feelings, including drained emotions, mood swings, and even bad luck. Accidents may occur frequently. Your financial situation may suffer. But there may be more to this seeming pattern of misfortune than meets the eye, right? It could be coincidence. It could be something more. A demonic attachment may be at fault. You might experience physical and psychological disturbances. But what I mean by this is, you've all know that friend, maybe it's happened to you or watched it on TV, where people get, during an investigation or something, they get scratched or It looks like they have a bite mark or other wound that doesn't have an ordinary explanation, right? And this can happen anywhere on the body or even on an object within a location. Mysterious scratches seem to defy all rationality. In the case of a demon, it's usually reported, like if there's demonic activity or whatever, if you have 3 scratch or claw marks, those are said to serve as a mockery to the Holy Trinity. But scratches aren't the only sign related to spiritual attacks. A person may feel odd sensations like he or she is being watched, feelings of unease, or even outright nausea and other forms of illnesses has all been reported. The goal, it would seem, is to wear a person down to make possession easier. Together, all of these things may be a part of what is known as demonic oppression. And of course, if all defenses are down, we come to a demonic possession, okay? A demon's presence in the home or attachment to a haunted object may very well be a precursor to demonic possession, where it takes you over, your spirit, your body. And after all, there would be little point in a demon bothering a human if they didn't want something out of it, right? What do they want? A vessel of some sort, like an object, a person. And y'all heard the story, the shows or whatever, the famous or infamous, if you will, story of Annabelle, when Ed and Lorraine Warren first visited the 2 women and their curious Raggedy Ann doll. They say they knew immediately what they were dealing with, a demonic attachment. The demon was only pretending to be a spirit of a young girl attached to the doll, but in reality, it was attempting to be welcome and accepted into their lives, after which it planned to possess one of them. The Warrens referred to this process as invitation, obsession, infestation, oppression, and possession. Now, there is a lot more to know about demonic entities. I gave you just the basics for tonight's show purposes, so you get kind of a little gist of what kind of stuff we're talking about. And now let's talk about curses. What are they, how, and why, and all of that, right? A curse is any expressed wish that some form of adversity or misfortune will befall or attach to one or more persons, a place, or an object. In particular, curse may refer to such a wish or pronouncement made effective by a supernatural or spiritual power, such as a god or gods, a spirit, or a natural force, or as a kind of spell by magic or witchcraft, right? And in that case, a curse can also be called a hex. So it's something that someone has intent, right? When they curse somebody or curse something, there's an intent to cause harm. Now, you have a little insight on demonic and cursed, what those mean. So now let's go to some locations, shall we? And talk about some of that. As we get closer to Halloween, this is the great month of October, and Halloween also has a full moon. As a matter of fact, it's the second full moon this month, and that is called a blue moon, and it only happens every 3 years, okay? So it's very special. And as we get closer to Halloween, the veil between the 2 worlds is said to get thinner, and this means that some of the most sinister places on earth have the potential to become truly evil. The veil is said to be an energetic barrier that separates the physical world we live in from the plane of existence that ghosts and demons inhabit, the spirit world. In Celtic mythology, the veil was depicted as walls of mist that acted as a dividing point between the known and the unknown. Many demonologists advise to avoid certain dark and sinister locations while the veil is at its thinnest, as paranormal activity could be at its highest, especially when it comes to dark entities. And with that, folks, we'll be back after this short break. You are listening to Ghost Talk Radio on WBHM-DB.com.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Paratalk Radio is your one-stop for all things paranormal, the unknown, and the supernatural. Join us every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central for discussions and guests on topics such as ghosts, hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and more. This broadcast is rated M for mature and intended for listeners over 16 on paratalkradio.com.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to Ghost Talk Radio with me as your host, Shelly Robertson. And tonight I am talking about demonic and cursed locations. And if you missed the first part of the show, no worries. You can catch the full show archive on Spreaker, iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and many, many others. If you have an account or a subscription, we're probably there. And we had a gal in chat her name is April. Hi out there, April. She has said that she has been attacked by a demon and in her bed, and it even strangled her. See, that would be horrific. And I just feel so fortunate that I have never had an experience like that, because I've never been truly scared in my life, but that might terrify me. I'm thinking it would. So now we're going to some of these locations, right? And the first one I'm going to talk about, and it's considered one of the most demonic places in actually the world, all right? And that is Castle Hauska in Prague in the Czech Republic. And it's on a forested hill perched on the edge of a limestone cliff, okay? And of course, the castle is also built of limestone. And how often do we find that these very haunted locations, including my jail, are all built with limestone? And they say that limestone very well could be a conductor of paranormal activity. And over and over and over again, it's been prevalent at many of these very haunted locations, right? Well, this castle is approximately 29 miles from Prague, and it's believed that it was ordered to be built by this fellow named Otter Carol of Bohemia. Now, he reigned as the ruler there from 1253 to 1278, and that's a long, long time ago, I know, right? And sometime later, this castle began passing from one aristocrat member to another, and it was just being passed along and handed down and bought and sold and rebought, right? And it stopped being used as a noble residence in the 18th century, and it began to fall into a state of disrepair, as you can imagine. Now, it was renovated in 1823 and 1897, all right? And this Hauska Castle, it was built over a hole so deep in the ground that no one, even to now, that no one has ever reported seeing the bottom of this hole. And many refer to this as the gateway to hell. There's many legends surrounding this hole, right? Including there were creatures that were half human and half animal that would crawl out of it. There were also stories of creatures with dark wings that would fly above the area. Local legend says Hauska Castle was built to keep the evil in, because everything, you know how most castles, they're looking out over the countryside so they can protect the castle. Well, this particular castle, all the lookout points are pointed inward towards the courtyard. So that's a little bizarre, right? And there's just been so many people and legends around this castle. Now, its chapel, it was built directly, they say, over the gates of hell to keep them closed, okay? The chapel and the castle. Now, when the construction of the castle began, local prisoners who had been sentenced to death were invited to the site and offered a reprieve for being lowered down into the cave and then reporting their findings, right? Because no one has seen the bottom. Well, this one man who had been condemned to die was told that if he would descend down into the hole by a rope and tell them what he saw, that they would set him free. All right. So the man agreed, and shortly after he was lowered into the hole, there were sounds of gut-wrenching screams, and I guess it was horrific. Now, when he was pulled back to the top, to everybody's amazement, it appeared as if he had aged 30 years in a mere few minutes. His hair was gray and his face was wrinkled, and shortly after that, he went stark raving mad, right? He was had to go to an insane asylum, and he was only in that asylum for a couple of days before he died. All right? So, that's bizarre. Now, another bizarre aspect of this castle is there's no water and no kitchen. And it was not located near any trade routes, and there were no occupants to live there when it was first built. It was not built as a sanctuary or a residence. All right? This fellow Aranto, he was a Swedish rogue commander. He came along and he used it as his headquarters. He was reported to be an alchemist and a black magician that performed dark experiments in the castle. His life ended when he was shot through the window by some local villagers while he was supposedly working to discover the elixir of eternal life. So somebody didn't like what he was doing, and they put a stop to it, right? So from 1939 to 1945, the Germans, they took over the castle, the military. And no one was ever sure why that the Germans, before they left, they made sure to destroy all the records before they left the castle, right? And they left when they learned that the Russian and American armies were advancing, okay? And it was thought that they may have been using it for, various types of experimental research, right? And doing experiments on people. And supposedly it was a secret breeding ground because they were trying to breed a superior race of people. I know that sounds far-fetched, doesn't it? And I guess what happened was the inner courtyard there at the castle, the skeletons of 3 German soldiers were unearthed, and all 3 of them had been executed, right? Now, guests to the castle, they have also claimed to see a line of people chained together walking towards the castle. Each person along the chain has a horrific injury. They're seeing these full-body apparitions, right? Some people are said to be carrying their heads or other body parts. And there's a report of a giant black dog is said to be attacking and biting the people along the chain. Some of these sightings have lasted several minutes, not just an appearance and blink, it's gone, right? So I think that would be quite a sight to see, and for such a period of time. If you get to see an apparition for even a whole minute, that's a good length of time, let alone several. Now, workers in the inner courtyard there, they've heard voices coming from the chapel, and when they go check, there's nobody there. A black figure has been seen on the upper floor. It's thought to be the ghost of an unknown male. It's believed that the Germans carried out their experiments in the room where they see this, black figure. Now, demonic entities are said to be seen in the chapel. Strange moaning, screams, and voices in many languages are said to be heard coming from below the chapel. Witnesses over the years have claimed to see something in the area of the chapel that looks like a cross between a human, a giant frog, and a bulldog, if you can picture that. I can hardly picture that. How bizarre. And on the 3rd floor, the ghost of a beautiful young woman in white has been, seen roaming around. No one knows who she is, but she appears to be the most normal of all the ghosts in and around the castle, right? And of course, obviously, there's always a lady in white. We always hear about that. The cellar in this castle is nicknamed Satan's office. It even has a throne embellished with horns and a trident. A black-robed, faceless priest has been seen materializing in front of the throne and walking up the steps before vanishing. That is a little disturbing, right? Today, the castle serves as a meeting place for experts on the occult, UFOs, and all paranormal phenomena. There are also conferences that are held there at the castle, right? And no one will ever know the true purpose of Hauska Castle. They can only choose to believe what, they want to believe. And this place is said to be the most demonic place in the world. Now, would you like to visit and find out for yourselves, I'm thinking maybe I would go to the property and go from there and see what happened after I stepped foot on property. Um, Depending on what else, I may not go in. I might go in. I don't know. I don't know. The next stop on our demonic journey is this place in Skidbrook, United Kingdom, called St. Botolph's Church, okay? And it's possibly the most haunted site in Lincolnshire. All right. This place is a remote medieval church in the midst of Lincolnshire, and it's really been forgotten by time. It's surrounded by farmland with a few scattered farms. Now it's just an empty shell, and it has been the center of unexplained paranormal activity and local lore. And there's been stories of spells and witchcraft, and it's said that this church has been cursed as well. It was used by Satanists in the 1970s and the 1980s, okay? And the empty church has become the haunt of Satanists, so much that it's earned the reputation as the so-called demon church. Visitors have reported seeing a ghostly monk on the site, seeing odd lights, hearing sounds of storms, even during calm weather. So that's kind of odd. And people report seeing and hearing strange, unexplained noises at night, as well as screams and phantom footsteps on the concrete pavement, right? Now, the church is at the end of the lane with a wooden gate that goes into the churchyard, which is full of old gravestones, including some that belong to unknown sailors that were lost at sea. Now, this place too, was built from limestone and brick. And the church dates back from the 13th century, with some later additions, of course. Now, it's got a large battlemented tower, kind of like a castle, right? And that actually dominates the church. Well, it's castle looking like. Now, every year, police battle vandalism of the church, and there are many reports of satanic rituals still being performed and animal sacrifices being found within the property. It's, just been horrendous fighting off satanic activity and people poking around. Like, there's been unexplained, now fires even pop up on the property. It's been a real trying time for them to keep that place under control. Well, this next very haunted place we're going to go to is Praveglia Island in Italy. Praveglia is a cursed and actually a mysterious island, and indeed some strange and historical events have shaped its reputation as the darkest place of the Venice Lagoon. Now, during the first centuries of the last millennium, Praveglia was a thriving and populated island, and with the outbreak of the war in 1378, which was the fourth and last conflict between Genoa and Venice, its inhabitants were moved to an island, a different island, right? And from that moment, the island remained deserted for 300 years, a long time. Now, since 1645, it was then employed as an outpost to control the transit of ships in the lagoon with the aim of protecting Venice. Sounds innocent enough, right? However, Praveglia's darkest moments date back to a more recent years when in the 1700s, there was the Black Death or the plague, right? And the island became a lazaretto, an open-air cemetery, we'll say, where quarantined people, even those with the slightest signs of sickness, they were sent to die. Bodies were left on the island streets to decompose, okay? And we've heard this story before, not from this place, but I've talked about other places where they just, very haunted places where the people, they just left them in the streets where they lay, right? Okay, so there was all kinds of death, and they were burnt, and their ashes were thrown in mass graves here on this island. It is said that more than 160,000 people there died in agony during the bubonic plague, right? Even today, strata of bones could be found beneath the surface, which is made up of 60% of human ashes. Now, come on, with something like that going on, you got to believe that the place is very haunted. Now, according to some historical reconstructions, in that period, the island was also the scene of an execution of criminals who were usually killed by drowning. But this is not only the scariest part of the story. In 1922, the buildings have been reconstructed to house a home for the elderly, as this can be read in the municipal archive records, right? Well, nonetheless, the furniture still present today witnesses that the building was actually an asylum. And we know what comes from asylums, right? From the moment one was diagnosed with mental illness and taken to Proveglia, there was no possibility of redemption and rehabilitation. The only aim was to use the island, was to isolate these people and separate them from society. It's important to remember that in the past, not just over there in Italy, but here in the United States too, any uncommon way of thinking and behavior different from the socio-cultural norms of the time was considered mental disorders. Anyone could thereby be identified as mentally ill and locked up, right? Now, according to local legend, the patients of Proveglia's asylum reported that they saw strange shadows, probably belonging to the ghosts of the plague victims, and that they could not sleep at night because of the wails and suffering spirits. Obviously, the doctors did not believe them. And with that, folks, we'll be back after this short break. You are listening to Ghost Talk Radio on WBHM-DB, Birmingham, Alabama.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
This is Jason Bland, host of Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we stream live as a webcast every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, with guests who will blow your mind. Live ghost box sessions where you can call into the show to see if the spirits will talk to you, and the world wide web of weird with the latest in paranormal news and evidence. We're bringing the weird every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to Ghost Talk Radio with me as your host, Shelly Robertson, and tonight I'm discussing and cursed places, right? And prior to the break, I was talking about this island, okay? And in Italy, and a lot is going on there at Praveglia, right? So much stuff. We could just go on and on. I'll tell you a few more things about the island before we move on. Okay, so we were talking about the asylum being built, right? When these patients, they were subjected to tortures, as you can imagine, and all the stories about all the asylums back in the day, they're all the same, right? They were subjected to tortures that even, they were tortured to death. It is believed that a sadistic doctor did evil experiments on them, even performing lobotomies, as he believed that this cruel practice was a great way to treat and cure mental illness, right? The procedure was hideously wicked and painful, and doctors used hammers and chisels and drills without anesthesia or any concerns of sanitation, right? Now, because of these horror practices, the doctors were also tormented by ghosts, the main doctor, and it drove him crazy to a point where he jumped, or some legends say he was thrown, from the clock tower that stands out on the lagoon. And by the way, legend tells that he did not die from the fall, but that he was choked before a mysterious fog, right, come rolling in. In some silent and calm nights, you can still hear the bell ringing across the bay, despite the bell being removed years ago. And in 1969, the structure was permanently shut down and the island abandoned for the second time. Obviously, during the years, the island lured many curious and paranormal researchers. In 2009, for example, Ghost Adventures dedicated an episode to Praveglia, and in 2016, a group of guys from America, from Colorado, they were rescued at night by firefighters who, at their arrival, found them in a state of shock and panicking for having seen and heard paranormal entities. Now, what happens at night, I guess you can hear voices and screams and strange noises. And many researchers have recorded an odd electromagnetic field within the entire perimeter of the island, despite there being no source for the electricity. Next on to a cursed location of Centralia, Pennsylvania. All right, so Centralia is a borough and near Ghost Town in Columbia County, Pennsylvania. The borough of Centralia once had a population of almost 2,500 residents in the 1940s, but has been reduced to just 6 residents today due to an out-of-control coal mine fire that has been burning under the town since 1962 and is still burning, folks, still burning. Legend tells that Centralia was cursed by the long-deceased priest of Saint Roman Catholic Church, and his name was Father Daniel McDermott. And he was the first Roman Catholic priest to call Centralia home. Now, the town founder, Alexander Ray, had been murdered on October 17th, 1868, while riding a horse-drawn buggy between Centralia and Mount Carmel. Now, 4 miles to the west of Centralia, right? Now, suspicion fell on members of the Molly Maguires, which was an Irish Catholic secret society that fought the coal barons of the day for the rights of coal miners. So we had an Irish secret society there. Now, Father McDermott, he was suspecting that the killers were members of his congregation. He began denouncing the Molly Maguires from the pulpit. Now, on a night in 1869, a group of men attacked Father McDermott in the church cemetery in retaliation. Now, according to the legend, Father McDermott made his way back to the church after being assaulted and rang the church bell to summon the townsfolk, after which he pronounced a curse on the town. According to Father McDermott, a day would come when only the Roman Catholic Church would be left standing in Centralia. Well, McDermott appears to have been partially right. Although there are 8 buildings remaining in Centralia, the Roman Catholic Church is not one of them. The church closed in June 1995 and was demolished in November 1997 due to the fact that it was directly in the impact zone of the mine fire and posed a danger of carbon monoxide exposure to anyone inside the church. So, had they not had to tear it down, maybe he would have, maybe the curse would have played out. Many reports of paranormal activity have been reported over the years at this location. You name it, there's been a report of it, right? We're going to talk about a couple of cursed places. There's this place, Timbuktu, in northern Mali, okay, and that's in Africa. In 2012, extremists attacked Timbuktu, desecrating the graves of saints and doing the unthinkable, okay, blowing up the door in the City Yaha Mosque. Now, legend said, open the door, which was over 600 years old, would signify the end of the world. Since then, locals point to chaos all around. But was Timbuktu a trading mecca that allowed outsiders in only 100 years ago, doomed from the start? Local people claim the city has lived under a curse for hundreds of years, since the days of the salt trade, when it was rumored that the streets were paved with gold. So at one point, they were doing pretty darn good for themselves, right? Then we've got, excuse me, this place called the Castle of Good Hope in Cape Town, South Africa. Now, this was active since the early 20th century. Various apparitions reported include a man who walks all around with a dog, and the dog jumps on people who are passing by. Most interestingly, this story involves the ghost of a woman seen running through the complex crying, and finally disappeared when excavations uncovered a woman's body there at the castle. Now, we go to this next place, and I think I've touched this a little bit before, and that is Stall Cemetery in Stall, Kansas. Within the Stall Cemetery, there was once an imposingly tall pine tree that stood until 1998, when it was destroyed to dissuade thrill seekers, right? Even though the tree was perfectly healthy, it was cut down the day before Halloween. Now, the tall pine tree grew directly through a headstone plate, splitting it in half. Local lore held that the tree was used to hang witches before the land was allotted as a memorial ground. Both the church and the tree were considered landmarks of evil, which would help lead the way to the mystical steps to hell located nearby. For more than a century, urban legends and other weird and frightening stories have referred to Stull's connection with the devil and satanic or occult activity, right? Supposedly, there's these stairs that only show up during spring equinox that lead to the gates of hell, right? Legends say that the original name of this town was Skull. Later, the name was deliberately changed to Stull in order to cover the place, the relation to black magic and ghosts and witchcraft and supernatural happenings, which, at least the Catholic Church teaches, have a diabolical origin, such as hauntings or possessions. And now I want to talk a little bit, since we went on a few locations, and let me tell you, there is so many more, and I may go over some more of these more of the places in another show. But I want to talk a little bit about what's going on at the Old Paulding Jail, what we got coming up. We have on October 17th, we got Stephen McDougal, also known as Doogie, from Haunted Towns, Ghost Asylum, Haunted Live, and Jason Hale from Exorcism Live and the Fearless Forum. They are going to be at the Old Paulding Jail October 17th for a exciting ghost hunting night. We do have a few remaining tickets left for that event, and if you would like to reserve your spot, get them while you can. We don't have that many. Go to our website, 187pi.com, and click on events. There you can get a link to more info about the event and to get your reservation. We also have Chris Fleming, who will be coming to the Old Paulding Jail on October 24th. And I'm sorry, folks, but that event sold out. And actually, that sold out very, very fast. You'll have to watch and see if you can catch the next one with Chris. We have on October 31st, which is also the night of the blue moon, a public ghost hunt led by yours truly and the 187PI research team. That is starting at 8 p.m. on October 31st. We are going to test the legends and theories of this extraordinary night with this extra fascinating blue moon to see if we get extraordinary paranormal activity. If you'd like to reserve a spot for that and take part in all of our little experimental tests, you can also get a ticket at 187pi.com and click on events, and you can read more about it and go to the ticketing page. We have just a few private investigations still available for the jail. We don't have any more weekends for the year available. I think we got maybe one Saturday left up there. We will be listing a few more weekdays on our calendar on the event page. So watch for them. If you don't see a date that works for you, you may be able to find one here in the upcoming days. We have coming up in February, it's really exciting, Santiago Cirillo of Walking Dead and Rosalie and Nashville and tons of other flicks. Zombified just come out. He will be coming to the Old Paulding Jail in February. Tickets are available. We do have a few left. He will be there for a meet and greet for ghost hunts, first 2 weekends in February. and an exciting new escape game that we will be launching. The theme, especially for Santiago. So you will want to get your reservations in early on this while you still can. He is going to film his own project, a paranormal series called Smoke. The premiere and the pilot will be filmed at the jail, and he will be looking for local folks who might want to have a role in the show. So you'll definitely want to check that out. What's going on here at our fabulous network, WBHM-DB, on Sunday nights? We have Fate Magazine Radio with host Kat Hobson. On Monday nights, we have the Paranormal Pride Show with show host Denise Pridemore. Wednesday nights, we have Paranormal Experienced with host Kat Hobson. And another show that's been added to the lineup is the Spectrum Project, which is on Thursdays. And all of our shows get home from work, you're relaxing, you just relaxing, enjoy your evening, tune in, listen. All the shows have fabulous guests and great content. And I want to take a brief moment to thank all my listening friends out there for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to my live broadcast. And I hope you all have a great evening and a super fantastic weekend. Until next time, good night, friends.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.